fraud prevention tools are what kind of spearhead everything. With that, the armored services of handling the cash was also brought to our attention, and that's just another layer of protection as well. You know, less hands in the cookie jar, less people handling cash, taking it to the branch here for processing, and it's all going to be managed by a guard, which is an armored service provider, and then take it to the facility for processing. So that's just another layer of protection for your assets. You know, check scanning capabilities also removes the need to go to the branch to take those check deposits and put them into the account. They're processed in-house, they're processed faster, and you get next day availability on those check deposits. The positive pay, the ACH positive pay, will all be in place for all the accounts, and you know, we provide sufficient training and onboarding to make sure that those processes are adopted and managed properly.
Can you explain to the board what positive pay is? I know what it is.
Sure. So there's two different versions for fraud prevention. Positive pay is for your check writing. Okay, so if you're going to cut checks on Friday to distribute for payroll or for general obligations, you would send us a payment file the day before or day of, and then we have that in place so we know the date, the dollar amount, the payee, and the check number for those checks. They're in place so when they come through to be negotiated, whether they come through other banks for clearing, that's in place. If everything matches, there's no problem, the checks clear automatically. Same thing if someone takes a check and goes into a TD Bank location, that information will be populated on the teller screen. It will show up, all the items will match, and that person can negotiate that check. If something comes that doesn't match, such as someone changed the dollar amount, but that won't match what's on the file, it will send an exception alert. We can set it up as an email to the users for the Positive Pay platform to go and take a look at that item and decision it appropriately. If it was something that was a mistake, they can approve that, or they can decline it if they don't recognize that transaction and suspected fraud. You can set the default to be declined, so if there's a window the day that the item is presented. You have until 2 o'clock that day to look at that item and decision it. If you miss that decisioning window, we suggest the automatic default decision be declined, and that will prevent fraud from happening. So that's your check runs. That's for your check runs. For ACH, we look at it as any authorized vendor or customer that you give the ability to debit funds out of the account, such as payroll providers, taxes, utility companies and such. We build filters for those customers. You can limit the number of transactions that they can debit the account per month, the dollar amount, so we set those in place. As those transactions come through to automatically debit the account, if everything matches, if it's PICO and the dollar amount is within range, that transaction goes through automatically. The fraud that we're seeing now is those electronic transactions are coming in, and if you don't have a filter for such as Verizon to pay someone's cell phone bill, that transaction could potentially go through if you don't have a filter in place. So if there's no filter for Verizon, that's going to be alerted as well as an exception item. The users of ACH Positive Pay will go in and take a look at it. If they don't recognize that transaction, they decline. And so that's the type of fraud that we're seeing now. Customers or people, fraudsters are taking the information from bottom of checks, and they can go online and make purchases right from with that information that they have. So having those two tools in place for all the accounts are protected from the fraud that we're seeing today. Also, with the capabilities that we have for eTreasury is the online banking platform. It gives you access to perform your ACH transactions. So for any type of payments, if you're trying to replace your check writing capabilities, you can send out ACH payments to people for payroll, for your accounts payable. If there's any need to do wire transfers, domestic or foreign, that can be done right on eTreasury as well. Any type of transaction where you're going to be sending funds out of the account has to be performed under dual control. So one user would initiate that type of transaction, and then another approver would have to go in and approve that transaction. And nothing will leave the bank until that final approval has been made.
Can you explain the key that each user has to have?
Sure. Each user for eTreasury is given a secure ID token, which is a little device that has each minute, that number on the window changes. So you use that window and that token to authenticate yourself as you're signing into eTreasury. So if you don't have that token, you can't sign in. So that's the prevention tool of entering our system. And that's been very effective in preventing fraud. Computers that have malware or they're recording keystrokes, there's a minute or less to act upon that window, that number on the screen to enter our site. If you don't have that, or if that window, or that number expires, you can't access until it resets. So that is the service that we have for the user of eTreasury. Is there any questions or?
Right, I'm assuming you're fine with using a pickup service for cash and everything?
I'd actually prefer that.
Yeah, I think so, but I'm just checking.
I'd actually prefer, because between here and Bank Street, you never know what happens.
What we set in place, what we're proposing is 3 days a week service. So an armor truck will come 3 days a week, whatever days you want, and we can help you, give you guidance on packaging those deposits appropriately, so when they're picked up and taken to the facility, that they're processed.
Yeah, when you package those deposits, the plastic bags that we'd be required to put the deposits in, once you get that change, we will be providing those plastic bags for the armored car service for you at no cost, and we'll also be picking up all the costs of your check supplies to make that transition over to TD Banks. That's just one less cost that you have to worry about on top of it.
Now, one thing for fee waivers, in my reading, it writes 4.3 million, and that's for the balance, there would be no fees.
Pretty much. Yeah, with the 60 basis point, I like to show that because when we look at your balances, we look at a 12-month history.
Right.
And that $9 million ended up coming out to be about the average of 12 months. So we know with a lot of our school district customers, at the beginning of the school year, in September, you're flush with cash. That's when you're getting all your tax revenue. By the time June, July, and August comes around, that's when most of our school district customers are cash poor. So we figure, if you're around that balance towards the end of the year, you're still safe to cover the service fees as well. Plus, most likely, we'll put it on a quarterly settlement just to make sure that, if there are a couple of months where it's a little lean, that any earnings credit will carry over to make sure you see no fees. Now, one other thing that I wanted to mention as well is right now the interest rate that we're proposing is 1.95%. That is not indexed to any current rate. Right now it's an internally managed rate. While the interest rates are still low, most banks are still managing their rates internally. So we basically are seeing increases whenever the Fed makes any rate increase. So recently the Fed, back towards the end of September, increased rates by 25 basis points. Most of our customers saw anywhere between 10 and 20 basis point increase in the rate by the end of that week. So until further notice, I'm assuming until we see interest rates cross over the 3% range, I'm assuming that we're going to see rates stay internally managed. So typically what I do as a relationship manager is if the FOMC meets and raises rates by 25 basis points, usually when we do raise the rates, then I would send an email or make a quick call to Brian just to let him know that the interest rates went up. We always want to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward on the interest earnings for our customers. Now, that being said, with interest rates, right now we're at 1.95% on this relationship. We're probably going to see one more rate increase, and I know, Brian, we've talked about it before, but we're going to see probably one more rate increase this year. The FOMC is talking about possibly 3 more interest rate increases in 2019 and possibly 2 more in 2020. So I think by the time we're in the middle of 2020, I think we're going to be well across that 275 to 325 interest rate basis. I think that's where the Fed wants to be. I don't think they want to go see rates over that 3% to 3.5% rate. At that point, once interest rates get too high, I think they're a little afraid that it's going to lower consumer confidence. Interest rates could go higher on mortgages, and they don't want to stifle the economy. Everything's good right now, and it's looking better. So, you know, we're in the 11th year of a bear market, and the economy's doing well. I don't know how much longer that's going to go on, but we'll see. So I just wanted to throw that in there as well.
Yeah, I have several questions. Since I wasn't able to meet with you gentlemen when you came in and met with Brian previously, you mentioned the amount of fees currently that you were going to waive, like 24,000 or something, I think you mentioned.
Yes.
We currently don't pay any fees anyway.
Right.
And we do earn probably 1%, maybe a little higher. It does go up with our current financial institution. And we don't pay any fees.
Right.
We never have.
And each bank handles that a little differently. Some banks may just place it on a general waiver. In our case, we utilize the earnings credit rate. And I like to put that in here just to show, you know, where the balances should be.
But in netting out at the 2.25%, that really isn't true in our case because we're not paying those fees, so you don't have to net that out.
Well, I usually like to
We
put
would
that
be
in so it's
increasing
a part of
by
that
0.9%.
return on the investment.
I'm not
Yes.
minimizing that increase. But
No, not at all. I get it.
2.25 wouldn't be 100% accurate. And also I have some other questions. The token, do we, and these are just strictly really operational questions. The tokens that you give, in our previous financial institution, we had those tokens, we had that security, so I'm familiar with the use of them. But I also know that once in a while they die on them. Now you need to have this token so that you can authorize your direct deposit for payroll to go, and you don't have it. Can someone provide one for us immediately that day, like run one up from a local branch, or give us an extra one to keep in the safe that hasn't been activated yet?
Sure. There's various things that we can do. The tokens do have an expiration date on them, so before we can get to that expiration date, we have a fresh one before that expires.
And actually, there'd be multiple tokens, because each user would have their own token.
Right,
You
but
have one, yeah.
Each
sometimes they die and someone else is in here. You know,
Right,
you and
right.
somebody else aren't here and I've got mine
Or
and
if I
mine
die,
dies.
you
Now
don't
what do
take
I
me
do?
out, right?
No, I don't want you to die.
Do they email the token or how do you get it to them?
They're usually FedEx.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's actually a physical.
Physical, yeah, little